I didn't say anything at first. I just sat there, listening to the soft rhythm of the rain tapping against the windshield, trying to steady my breath as his eyes lingered on me a little too long, long enough that I felt it deep in my chest. He shifted slightly in his seat, the leather creaking in the quiet car, and his voice dropped lower, smoother than before. "You always rush through everything," he murmured. "Even now, you're pretending you're fine, pretending nothing is happening. But your hands..." His gaze lowered. "They're shaking." I curled my fingers into my lap, trying to hide the tremble I didn't even notice until he pointed it out. "I'm not shaking," I whispered, and my voice came out smaller than I wanted. He gave a faint smile, not mocking, just knowing. "You don't have to explain anything to me. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm not even here to make sense of this." His words made the air even heavier. It felt like the whole car tightened around us, drawing us closer, as if it understood what neither of us could say out loud. "I just want you to breathe," he said quietly. "Just once. For yourself." And the strangest part. I did. I actually let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for days. Maybe weeks. Maybe longer than that. He watched me with an expression I couldn't read, something caught between concern and something far more dangerous. "You don't let people see you," he said. "Not really. But tonight it feels like you're finally letting someone in." My heart thudded. "Why do you care?" He leaned back, looked out at the rain for a long moment, then answered softly, "Because someone should." The car felt quiet again, but it wasn't empty. The silence felt alive, like it knew what we were trying not to admit. And for the first time, I didn't look away. He didn't touch me. He didn't even lean closer. And somehow, that made everything feel even more intense. The space between us felt like a line neither of us wanted to cross, yet neither of us wanted to step away from. I shifted in my seat, the grocery bags rustling at my feet, the scent of cinnamon and dried herbs mixing with the cool scent of rain slipping in through the cracked window. It grounded me, but it also reminded me how far from normal this moment was. "You keep looking at the door," he said softly. Like you want to run?" I replied. "I just don't know what this is." He nodded slowly, the dim light from the street lamp catching the edge of his jaw. "You don't have to label anything. Not tonight." The way he said it, gentle, steady, unhurried, made something warm uncoil in my chest. He wasn't pushing. He wasn't trying to pull me into anything. He was just sitting there, letting the air speak for us. "And if I walked away right now?" I asked, forcing myself to meet his eyes. He held my gaze without flinching. "Then you walk away. But you'd be lying if you said this moment didn't shake you." I swallowed, feeling the truth of that settle against my skin. "It's not supposed to be like this," I whispered. "I know," he said. "But sometimes, the things that aren't supposed to happen are the ones you remember the most." His voice dropped even lower, like the rain outside was listening. "And sometimes," he added, "they're the ones that show you what you've been missing." A quiet, warm ache spread beneath my ribs. I hated that he was right. I hated that he could see through me so easily. But I hated even more how much I needed someone to notice. The rain softened outside, slowing into a steady drizzle. It felt like the world was easing its breath right along with me. He turned slightly in his seat, giving me his full attention. "You haven't asked why I stopped the car." I blinked. "Why did you?" He gave a slow, careful smile. The kind that wasn't playful or flirtatious but honest, almost vulnerable. "Because you looked like you needed a place to fall apart," he said. "And I didn't want you doing it alone." His words hit deeper than they should have. Too deep. And for a moment, just a moment, I let myself feel the truth I'd been trying to outrun all week. I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. His words sank into me in a way I wasn't prepared for, peeling back layers I'd kept tightly shut for years. The kind of years where you survive more than you live, where you speak more out of habit than honesty. He didn't rush me. He didn't shift or fidget or try to fill the silence like most people do when they feel uncomfortable. He just waited, watching me with that calm steadiness that made it impossible to hide. "I'm not falling apart," I finally said, though even I didn't believe it. He tilted his head slightly, not calling me out, not contradicting me. But the look in his eyes told me he knew better. "You don't have to be," he replied. "You can just be tired." That's allowed. Something in my throat tightened, and I looked away, focusing on a raindrop sliding slowly down the glass. "I don't get to be tired," I whispered. "There's always something. Work, home, people depending on me. If I stop, everything stops." He let out a quiet breath, not a sigh, but something softer. "That's the problem," he said. "You think everything will fall apart without you. But you never stop to ask what happens to you in the process." I felt that. Really felt it. And it scared me how easily he could see parts of me I didn't even remember leaving in the open. "What are you trying to do?" I asked, my voice barely carrying between us. "Nothing," he said gently. "Just giving you a moment where you don't have to pretend." The words hit like warm water over cold hands. Deep. Unexpected. When I turned back to him, he was leaning forward just slightly. Not enough to invade my space, but enough to show he was present. Completely present. "You've been holding your breath for too long," he murmured. "Anyone can see that." And suddenly, without warning, my eyes stung. Not with tears exactly, but with the pressure of everything I'd pushed down for months. I blinked hard, looking away again. "Don't analyze me. I'm not," he said softly. "I'm noticing you. That's different." I let out a shaky breath, one I couldn't hide even if I tried. The car felt warmer now, the air heavier with the unspoken things floating between us. It wasn't attraction in the reckless, dangerous sense. It was something quieter, the feeling of being seen after being invisible for too long. He watched me for a long moment. "You don't have to decide anything tonight. You don't owe me anything. But if you need someone to sit with you while you breathe, I'm here." It wasn't a confession. It wasn't an invitation. It was simply permission. Permission to exist without the weight. And the worst, or maybe the best, part was that a small, wary part of me wanted to lean into that permission, if only for a moment. The moment he looked at me again, something settled. Something I'd been trying to ignore since the night he showed up at my door with that quiet, grieving expression neither of us knew how to handle. "You know," he said softly, "I keep wondering if he'd be angry at me for sitting here with you like this." My breath caught. There it was, the truth between us. The one neither of us had dared to speak out loud. My late husband's brother. The man who had stepped in to help when the world fell apart. The man who carried boxes, fixed the leaking roof, answered calls no one else would. The man who grieved with me in silence because talking about it only made everything hurt more. I swallowed. He wouldn't be angry. He gave a slow, painful smile. "You don't know that." "Les," I whispered. "I do." He looked down at his hands, the same hands that had carried my husband's photo at the funeral, the same hands that trembled when he tried to give a speech and couldn't finish it. "I keep telling myself I'm just checking on you," he said quietly, "making sure you're okay." It's what he'd want. But lately. His voice trailed off, not daring to finish. "Lately what?" I asked, even though a part of me already knew. "Lately," he breathed. "It feels like I'm the one who needs to check on myself." He finally met my eyes again, and the weight of shared grief, shared loneliness, shared silence settled between us like a second storm waiting to break. "I don't want to disrespect his memory," he said. "And I don't want to make you uncomfortable. But I can't pretend I don't see you struggling. I can't pretend I don't care. Not anymore." My fingers tightened around the fabric of my coat. "You're not disrespecting anything." He shook his head slowly. "It feels complicated." "It is," I admitted. "But that doesn't make it wrong." His jaw tensed, the way it always did when he was fighting something inside himself. "Do you know what scares me most?" "What?" "That I'm not just worried about you because of him." He exhaled shakily. "I'm worried because it's you." His voice broke just slightly on the last word, and suddenly the car didn't feel small anymore. It felt like the only place in the world holding us together, keeping the truth from spilling out too quickly. I stared at him, my heart thudding harder now, not from guilt but from recognition. Because deep down, I'd known it too. The rain had slowed to a quiet drizzle, but inside the car, the air felt heavy, almost electric. Neither of us moved. I could feel the weight of everything unsaid pressing down, like the silence had grown roots and wouldn't let us go. "I've been trying to stay away," he said finally, his voice low, almost hesitant. "Trying to keep the distance he would have expected me to. But it's impossible." I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "I didn't ask you to come," I whispered. "I didn't ask for any of this." "I know," he said. "And I don't want to make it harder for you. But I also can't just pretend I don't notice you. Or what you've been carrying all this time." His words were careful, but the truth in them was unavoidable. He was right. I had been carrying everything alone: the grief, the loneliness, the fear that life would never feel safe or full again. I looked down at my hands, the cold metal of my wedding ring pressing against my skin, a reminder of what had been lost. "I'm scared," I admitted, my voice barely audible. "I don't know how to feel." He reached out slowly, just enough to let me see the gesture, but not close enough to cross any line. "It's okay to be scared," he said. "It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human." For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt a small crack open inside me. A place where grief and comfort could meet, where I didn't have to fight alone anymore. I keep thinking about him," I whispered, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "About what he would want. About what's right. And you should," he said gently. "Always. But that doesn't mean you have to be alone while you figure it out." I swallowed again, feeling the tension in my chest loosen just a little. The quiet between us felt different now, not suffocating, not dangerous, but fragile, like it could break with the wrong word or touch. "I'm not sure I can trust myself," I admitted. "Not yet. You don't have to," he said, the corners of his mouth softening into the faintest smile. "Trust isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about starting somewhere. And we can start, slowly, carefully." I met his eyes then, really met them, and for the first time I saw not temptation, not desire, but understanding. Shared grief. Shared history. Shared survival. The storm outside had passed completely, leaving a quiet calm in its wake. And somehow, in that fragile silence, I realized we didn't need to rush. We didn't need to define anything tonight. We just needed to be there for each other. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a little bit of hope that maybe, somehow, we could navigate this together. We stayed there for a long time, neither of us speaking, listening only to the soft patter of rain against the windows. It felt like the world outside had paused, leaving just the two of us, fragile and unguarded. Finally, he spoke again, his voice low and careful. "You've been carrying too much alone. I can see it in the way you look at things, the way you move through the house. It's like you're afraid to let anyone in." I wanted to argue, to say I was fine, that I didn't need anyone, but the words caught in my throat. Because he was right. I had been so focused on surviving, on keeping the memory of him sacred, that I forgot I was allowed to grieve. Allowed to lean on someone else. "I don't know how to do this," I admitted softly. "How to grieve and live, and not feel guilty for moving forward." He nodded slowly. "You don't have to do it all at once," he said. "You just have to take the first step. And you don't have to do it alone." For the first time since the funeral, I let my shoulders slump, releasing a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The tension I'd carried for months melted slightly in his presence. "You're not just his sister-in-law," he continued, voice quieter now, almost intimate in its gentleness. "You're someone I care about, someone who matters, and I want to be here. Not to replace him, never that, but to help you find a way to breathe again." I swallowed, my heart thudding loudly in my chest. There was something dangerous about this closeness. Something that made my chest ache, with a mix of comfort and longing. But it wasn't forbidden in the way I had feared before. It was allowed, even necessary human care, connection, understanding. I think I've forgotten what it feels like to have someone just notice me," I whispered. "That's why I'm here," he said simply. "To notice. To be patient. To let you start again at your own pace." We stayed like that for hours, talking quietly about memories, about grief, about what we feared and what we hoped for. There were no confessions, no boundaries crossed. Only two people allowing themselves to be human, vulnerable, and seen. And in that silence, in that careful closeness, I realized something profound. Life could be complicated, grief could be unbearable, but healing, began in the spaces where someone simply chose to care. The rain finally stopped. The world outside was washed clean, quiet, waiting. And inside the car, a small spark of hope had begun to glow, fragile, but real. Days passed, and I began noticing small things. The way he would check in quietly, leaving messages that didn't demand a response. The way he offered help without hovering. The way he remembered details about my day that I had long forgotten to mention. It wasn't romantic. At least, not in any reckless way. It was something steadier, something that filled the spaces left behind by grief and fear. It was trust, built slowly, brick by brick. One evening, he came by the house unannounced. I was sitting by the window, staring at the fading light over the garden, feeling the familiar ache of loneliness pressing in. "I thought you could use some company," he said softly, leaning against the doorframe. His presence didn't crowd me, it simply existed, like a gentle hand at my back, steadying me without words. I nodded, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel the need to explain myself. We sat together, quietly, listening to the wind rustle through the trees. "You don't talk much these days," he said after a while. "I've been thinking," I admitted. "About everything. About him. About what life should look like now." He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he reached over and lightly rested a hand on mine. Not touching, not intrusive, but grounding. "It's okay to think?" he said finally. "You don't have to have all the answers tonight." The warmth of his hand on mine made my chest ache, not with longing, but with the deep relief of being understood. I hadn't realized how heavy the silence around me had been until someone else quietly shared it with me. "I don't want to forget him," I whispered. "And yet, I don't want to stay stuck either." "That's natural," he said softly. "You can honor his memory and still find your way forward. One doesn't cancel the other. You just have to take it slowly. And let someone help when you need it." Something in me loosened then, a small knot I hadn't even noticed. I realized that for months, I had been trying to navigate grief alone, pretending I was strong. But strength wasn't about solitude. It was about letting others in when it mattered most. We didn't speak for a long time after that. There was no pressure, no expectation. Just presence. Just quiet understanding. And in that simple act, I began to realize something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in a long time: hope. Hope that even after the worst of losses, even after the world seemed to collapse, it was possible to find safety again. Not in replacing what was lost, but in allowing someone else to walk beside you while you heal. I looked at him then, really looked, and saw not temptation, not desire, but something far more profound: loyalty, care, and a willingness to share the weight of life. For the first time in months, I didn't feel alone.